the 428 Shibuya Scramble. In the last part, we got through the 3 o'clock block. A lot of jumping around through time in this block, it seems. But, alright. So is my mic picking up my fan? I hope it's not. Yeah, we're okay. Oh well, I'll leave that in. Sure, why not? Why not? I'm gonna start with Achi, just because he left... Achi's fucking story left off on some weird-ass cliffhanger, where Hitomi was unconscious because of the minivan explosion. And apparently GeForce Game Ready Drive is available! I don't care. I don't think 428 is that fucking intensive on my graphics card that I need to update it anytime soon. Though I probably will once I'm done with this block of time. I go to sleep. Achi could hear ambulance and police sirens wailing on the main road. He looked down at Hitomi, slumped on a park bench beside him. "Sure you're not hurt?" he asked quietly, offering her a bottle of water. "I'm okay." Hitomi took a sip from the bottle. "Thanks. I think I've managed to calm down some." Some of the color had finally returned to her face. So, Achi began hesitantly. "Inside that minivan." "Maria wasn't in there." There was relief in her voice, but also a note of pathos. "I got a look in through the windshield. There was a man laid out in the back seat, but nobody else." A dark cloud lifted from Achi's face. "So it wasn't your sister?" "No, I didn't see his face. Just that he was wearing a business suit." Achi felt the tension ebbing from his body. "That's good then, that it wasn't her. I'd been worried." It was a shame about the poor devil who had been killed, though. Who was it, and why had he been there? So, I guess now we're out of leads. Hitomi murmured. She held her head. She hung her head. "We could try the surveillance center again for now," Achi said. "It'll probably give us better odds of finding your sister than just walking around." "I guess you're right. Shall we then?" "Hold on." Achi had a sudden flash of inspiration. "My house is a lot closer from here. Maybe I should ask my dad if we can check the cameras from home." "You can do that?" "We have the same system at our house. I'm sure my dad will let us use them." The two got up and headed for Endo Electronics. Achi decided to let his father know they were coming. He turned on his phone as they walked along. He'd had it off for a while, so first he checked his voicemail. It was one message. Wondering who might have called, he played it back. "Is this Achi Endo's personal cell phone? This is Dr. Saeki from Shibuya Central Hospital." Seiichi Saeki, heart specialist and Suzune's attending physician. A preeminent surgeon who has successfully performed the Batista procedure, wherein the left ventricle is reconstructed after a third of it has been removed. Achi's expression stiffened. He pressed the phone closer to his ear. "There's been a sudden change in Suzune's condition. I tried calling your home as well, but got no answer." Achi felt the edges of his vision growing dim. "As her brother, it'd be good if you can come to the hospital as soon as possible. It's..." "Achi?" Tomi's voice was full of concern. "Sorry. Just gotta make a call here." Fingers trembling, Achi dialed his house. The phone rang several times before switching over to the answering machine. "Damn it. Where the hell are you, Dad?" "What's wrong?" Hitomi asked. "Suzune. Sounds like things have gotten pretty bad." "Well, then we should get to the hospital right away," Hitomi said. He sounded as anxious as Achi was. "Can't go yet." Achi shook his head quietly. "First, we have to save your sister." Hitomi bristled angrily at that. "What are you talking about?" She grabbed Achi by the arm and shook him. Right now, you need to be thinking about your sister. I can't. I made a promise to Suzune. A promise to help people and see things through to the end when something important is on the line. I struggled to get the words out. Break that promise. Really am no good to her. But Atomi didn't look like she was going to back down. Oi! Get back here! A threatening shout rung out from the sky. Achi looked around, startled, and saw a boy about high school age bolting from behind a building on a side street. Several slightly older men were hot on his heels. Achi knew their faces all too well. They were all members of SOS. They caught their quarry just before he could make it out onto the main road. Gotcha, newbie! The kid they were after must have been a member too. Let me go! Oh, we'll let you go, all right. After you pay up. The young man snatched the boy by the collar and shoved him against the wall of a nearby building. Ow! The boy's face scrunched up. What are you talking about? Playing dumb, huh? Interjected one of the onlookers. We told you that members all have to pay monthly dues, yeah? The privilege of getting to call yourself SOS don't come free after all. Achi felt his blood boil. SOS was trying to pull a shakedown on this new kid under the guise of calling it dues. Slang for extortion, a full-fledged crime. Naturally, the direct shakedown, give me all your money, punk, is quite unpleasant. But more roundabout ways of being shaken down can still leave a bad taste in one's mouth. Someone who was surrounded on the street by 8 people in pompadours who said, "Beg your pardon, but could you please hand over your money," might suffer no physical harm, but would still be the victim of a shakedown. It would have been unthinkable for them to do something like this back when Achi was running the show. Hey, he barked. Let the kid go. Marched toward the... Say what now? They turned to look, their faces immediately going pale. Oh, hey, Achi. Let him go. Achi focused his glare on the fellow holding the kid until he gripped. You guys always go around doing stuff like this? None of the gang members answered. They merely turned their gazes glumly to the ground. Hey, Achi turned. When have you been doing this? But of course he realized there was no way the newbie would be able to tell him. Never mind. You can go, Achi gestured toward the main road. The boy was quick to run off. Achi waited until the boy was gone before turning back to the others. Does Susumu know you're going around collecting dues like this? He asked. Man, we don't gotta tell you that, one of them muttered. Not since you deserted. What'd you just say? Achi leaned in close, getting right in the guy's face. He was met with a defiant sneer. This ain't the old SOS anymore. Not the old SOS. Achi thought back to the other gang members he'd run into earlier, the malicious gleam in his eyes. That guy. Pretty sure he said his name was Kiryu. Back when Achi had been with SOS, he'd never let a guy like that get away with acting all high and mighty. Suddenly, Achi heard a voice from behind him. Well, well, it ain't our legendary founder. An instant later, he took a hard blow to the side of the head. Yeah. I was just out looking for some small fry, but looks like I landed me a big one. Achi's head swam, his vision fading in and out. Before he had a chance to recover, something smashed into his knee. He lay crumpled on the ground, unable to retaliate as kicks and punches rained down on him. Even after Achi could no longer move, the beating didn't stop. His ruptured eardrum could barely make out the sound of Hitomi screaming. Hitomi. Run. His final plea silenced before it reached his lips. Achi felt his consciousness battered away. Kiryu's ambush. Kiryu turned up out of nowhere and gave Achi a beatdown with a piece of timber. Just before he attacked Achi, Kiryu had run into someone else. The person said something that changed what Kiryu did. The individual in question needs to say something different to ensure Kiryu doesn't go to Dogenzaka while Achi and Hitomi are there. Okay. Well, that was a quick end to Achi's story for a bit. So, what else do we got? It's got to be either Maria or Minorikawa that influences Kiryu. Let's go with Maria, taken by the man with the cane. I walked counter to the throng of people at the scene of the explosion. The explosion happened in Shibuya-ku, Jinan One-chom, near the intersection of Koendori and Oregon Hill. This gun pressed against my back, leaving me no choice but to continue marching forward. I don't have time for this right now. There's something I need to do. My frantic sense of urgency grows and grows. Kano? The only clue I have is that name. The other hazy snippets that have surfaced in my memory provide no answers. Please, just tell me, I murmur. Do you know who I am? When the man with the cane didn't answer, I stopped in my tracks. Going to start shouting, I warned him. Want to find out who you are, then do as I say. The barrel of the gun jabs more forcibly into my back. Once we find Hitomi Osawa, you'll remember, whether you like it or not. Guess I have no choice but to keep moving. Are your memories really that precious to you? The man mutters as we start to move again. I'm taken aback by the question. Well, yes, I mean, isn't that pretty normal? There's a bit of a pause before he replies, his voice sad and distant. You're not going to remember just the good times, you know. What do you mean? I mean that sad and painful memories are going to resurface too. Guess I hadn't really thought about that. But still, whatever kind of memories they are, they're all a part of me. I'm the person I am now because of the sorrow and pain, too. I want to remember. I want to remember who I am. The gunman directs me dispassionately along a series of quiet side streets. Right here. Stop at his words. In front of us is an old multi-tenant office building. We ride the elevator to the 8th floor, then use the emergency exit to take the stairs up to the rooftop. Cool breeze blows across my cheek. Sit down there. I do as he says, settling myself on the outdoor air conditioning unit. The man lowers his gun, but keeps it in his hand. We'll wait here for a bit. How long? He lets out a rueful chuckle. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I decide there's no point in trying to fight him. For now, I have to hope he's telling the truth, and whatever's coming will help me get my memories back. If I don't know my past, how can I know what to do about this Kano stuff or anything else? I stare up at the sky as I wait for whatever this assassin is waiting for. The silence between us is suffocating. Finally, I can't take it any longer. Hey, so I think this is yours? I held out a notebook I picked up earlier. The man's surprise is plain on his face. Where did you get that? I saw the picture inside. He snatches the book out of my hand. Then he flips through it, looking sad. I'm afraid that another agonizing silence is about to descend when he speaks at last. This is a picture of me and my childhood friends. His voice is low and quiet. We were inseparable back when we were kids. Boy here, fiddle with machines. Always doing things like taking apart radios and whatnot and putting them back together. He was a total bookworm too, so he got picked on a lot. But I was always there to save him from the bullies. All of a sudden, the guy's in a sharing mood, I guess. I can feel his aura of murderous rage starting to abate. Girl, though, was the same age as us, but she felt more like a big sister. Whatever stupid things my other friend and I got up to, she was always willing to laugh it off. I had to stay quiet and keep listening. Both had a thing for her. A bashful little smile came across his face. When we were in high school, she told me that she liked me too. So the two of us started dating. But just have to ask, what about the other guy? Never said anything. Not sure how he felt deep down. Alright. So then is she your wife now? No. We broke up not too long afterward. The man carefully slips the notebook into the pocket inside his jacket. How come? There's nothing in particular, really. Things just didn't work out. He let out a little chuckle, then stands up and brushes the dust off his pants. He looks strangely lonely. I'm trapped! Alright, I guess it's Minorikawa time. Alright, so... let me just do... Minorikawa. Toyama suicide. Oh yeah, Toyama. He thinks Toyama's in the truck, but we know that's not the case. So what happened to Toyama? Minorikawa needed to get back to the editing office right away, but despite the urgency, he barely stumbled along. He was swaying on his feet, only half aware of where he was even going. No, this is all some sick joke. He just couldn't accept that Toyama was dead. Let out a lifeless sigh, a cynical smile crept onto his face. Man always did insist on having his own way. Killing himself? Back when he was still a novice reporter, Minorikawa had written a piece about a middle school girl who'd committed suicide. The school had made a statement denying that bullying had been a factor. So most of the media had reported that she had suffered a nervous breakdown over entrance exams. A period of mental illness manifesting as panic disorder, stress-induced anxiety, or the like. The term is commonly used to refer to serious health issues such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, manic depression, as well as the buildup of more minor stresses as part of the everyday life. Because it is so broadly and vaguely defined, it is generally avoided in psychiatric contexts. Something about the case had kept nagging at him. Had her death really been a suicide? The more people he interviewed about the incident, the more his doubts grew. The city news editor, however, would not allow him to conduct a follow-up investigation. The reason why was simple. This was the sort of thing that happened every day. He couldn't waste time on a case that was already on the books. It was more important for a reporter to find news stories than to squander time engrossed in a case that was old news. Minorikawa understood the editor's decision well enough. That didn't mean he had to like it. He'd been sulking on the roof, slowly nursing a cigarette, when the paper's local news copy editor, Toyama, happened to drop by. At a newspaper, an employee who evaluates the quality and suitability of reporters' copy and coverage. Effectively, the boss of a group of reporters. However, the copy editor typically works under a section editor who has the final say about what makes the page. A middle management position caught between upstart reporter and an angry section chief. They say no to the follow-up interviews? Toyama asked. About that girl's suicide. The name of the girl who killed herself was Chiharu Fuyusuki. After reading her diary, Minorikawa became convinced it wasn't an ordinary suicide. 6 years from now, Minorikawa will run into a certain teacher, and the investigation into the student's death will be reopened. But that's another story for another time. Yeah. Minorikawa expelled a plum of his smoke along with a sigh. Nothing twisted Nothing tasted quite as bad as a cigarette when he was down in the dumps. So what are you going to do? Not gonna do anything, Minorikawa said. Editor told me no. Oh, editor said not to. You sound like a child. The rebuff made Minorikawa's temper flare. There are other interviews to do. I want to follow up on this, but there isn't any time. You dumbass! Ayama hauled off and hit him right across the face. What happened to I write what I feel in my heart? That's the one thing I refuse to back down on. What happened to the guy who used to bitch at me like that? Ayama's words hit their mark with painful precision. The interviews aren't over until you have what you need. No, you refuse to let them be over. You go after the truth no matter what anyone tells you. Isn't that what being a journalist is all about? Minorikawa scowled in chagrin. The man was exactly right. Until you have what you need. Those words had stuck with Minorikawa ever since. In fact, he quit the paper to become a freelancer because he couldn't do his job the way he wanted to while trapped in that hierarchy. Now he wondered, what if Toyama hadn't killed himself, but had instead been the victim of a terrorist attack? But after considering the idea for a moment, he thought bitterly, so what? Reasons and the details hardly mattered at this point. What mattered was that Toyama was dead. Minorikawa sat down listlessly and stared up at the sky. The blank swath of blue made him feel all the more worn out. What had all the days running around been for? He felt so empty, so hollowed out by loss. All his motivation had drained away. He had no idea what he should do next. Hey, Noru Minorikawa, what should you do? He tried to listen to his inner voice. Stand up. Right now you just need to forge ahead. Yeah, that was his only option, really. He couldn't just let things end like this. And he still didn't have what he needed for his articles, so Minorikawa took a deep breath, readying to get back on his feet. Before he could, however, a young man stumbled across his path, taking a nasty fall on the pavement. Ow! Oh, damn, that hurts! The youngster scrambled back to his feet. Minorikawa with a snarl. What are you looking at, pal? The young man clenched a piece of timber like a club. There was a nasty gleam in his eyes. I'm not looking at anything, Minorikawa sighed. I just happened to be looking in your direction. Shut your yap! Apologize, bitch! Now! Hungry. Cudgel? What for? You tripped me, man! Ain't gonna apologize for that? Kid had stumbled all on his own, but was probably too embarrassed to admit it. Guess he's gotta vent his anger at someone. Listen, kid, Minorikawa said. It's not my fault you're such a klutz. You know, like the pedal in a car that's got a manual transmission? Oh, that's a clutch. Okay, so then, like, lumps on earth or clay, those are clods, you say? Right, so when you're talking about a sort of social get-together for coffee and conversation, huh? Alright, that's a clutch. Is it try to fix something before you... I'm gonna throw up. Is it when you try to fix something using stuff that isn't really meant for that purpose? That's a clutch. Okay. I didn't know half those. The hell you just say to me? You got a death wish, pal. The murderous glare, the punk advanced on him, brandishing his weapon. Hey, Minorikawa said. All right. Sorry. Being dragged into a street fight was not what he needed right now. Better just apologize and be done with it. Should have shown me that kind of respect from the start. Punk shook his head, muttering under his breath. Another dumbass gotta get taught some manners. That, the young thug headed off in the direction of Dogenzaka. Minorikawa looked around. He noticed a taxi idling nearby. It was Kibizuka. That probably affected. Nope, never mind. You need a ride, sir? Kibizuka asked. All politeness as he opened the back door. Politeness. You're heading to that publishing office again? I can get you there in 10 minutes. Kimizuka's driving was as smooth as always. He wove his way skillfully through a series of back streets. Some explosion earlier, he explained. The main roads are all gridlocked. Yeah, Minorikawa muttered. I was there when it happened. Oh, wow, really? Glad to see you're not hurt then. Still, what a terrible thing. My minivan. I hear someone was inside when it exploded. Not sure if you were aware. Yeah, I'm aware. Oh, nothing gets past a reporter like you, I see. Mizuka flashed Minorikawa an approving smile through the rearview mirror. How much have you heard, then? Rumor has it that the person who died was a middle-aged man. Oh, huh. We taxi drivers tend to hear quite a bit ourselves. Mizuka chuckled, but Minorikawa just cast his eyes down forlornly. You look tired, sir. Yeah, I guess so. Reply was barely audible. Taxi stopped outside of Heaven Publishing. Minorikawa left a 1,000 yen bill on the seat and exited the cab. He was stumbling his way toward the building when someone called out to him. Mr. Minorikawa! Oh, Mr. Minorikawa! For a moment, Minorikawa didn't recognize the man, now idling his sedan at the curb, but when he took a closer look, he realized it was Kenji Osawa. Mr. Osawa. Sorry, but I haven't been able to look into that thing you asked about yet. I see. It's quite alright. Osawa looked pale and haggard. Minorikawa's reporter sense started tingling. This guy is the key to something. Called what he'd heard the detective and buddy talking about back at the scene of the explosion. Roughly 8 hours ago, they infected Maria Osawa with the Uwa virus. We don't administer Kenji Osawa's antiviral before she developed symptoms. You're caught up in something big, aren't you? How do you know that? Because, the reporter said simply. I'm Minorikawa. Osawa rolled his eyes. Well, that'll make this simpler, I guess. Get in. I'll tell you everything. Minorikawa hesitated. This might be his big chance to land a beyond incredible scoop. Yet it felt like it was too late to matter. Still, landing a major story, selling out an issue of 4-star general gossip, and putting Heaven Publishing on the road to solvency, all that was the least you could do in Toyama's memory. You don't drop a story until you have what you need. Maybe it was too late to save Toyama, but Minorikawa got in the car. Osawa's tale was beyond anything Minorikawa had imagined. So they send you threatening emails, devise a plan to kidnap your daughter in order to get the antiviral, and now that that's failed, they're turning to bioterrorism? Finally, Minorikawa was able to flesh out the story behind the conversation he'd overheard earlier. As he did, he could feel a growing sense of exhilaration. So basically, they're now effectively holding all the people in Shibuya hostage and demanding the antiviral, is that it? Before Osawa could answer, a new idea occurred to Minorikawa. Wait, hold on. Why didn't they just start up by holding the whole city hostage? Why do they need to go through all the trouble of kidnapping your daughter? I don't know, Osawa said, shaking his head. Perhaps they wanted the ransom money? For a mere 50 million yen? I can't imagine international terrorists bothering with that much. You can't know how terrorists think, Osawa spat. Let's just assume them. Could there be some other reason they abducted your daughter? Osawa didn't reply. He was probably too preoccupied with finding a way to save his infected daughter to think about anything else. Still, something about the course of events didn't quite add up to Minorikawa. But whatever the case, if the criminals were after this antiviral, then sticking with Osawa ought to bring him closer to the truth. Minorikawa was still mulling that over when they arrived at the laboratory. Two men hopped out of the car and were immediately rushed by a pair of security guards who subdued them in a matter of moments. "Hey!" Minorikawa said. "What the hell is this?" "Unhand me!" Osawa yelled. "I'm Kenji Osawa! This is my lab!" Evidently, that didn't matter to the guards. Another man emerged from the... What was his name? Takino? He and Osawa exchanged a few... Judging from the tone of the conversation, this was someone who outranked Osawa at the company. "Take him away." As the newcomer looked on, the guards dragged Osawa into the building. "Hey!" Minorikawa shouted at the man as he began to walk away. "Don't you know what's going to happen to Shibuya? Don't you care? You just stand by and let the people of the city die, Yokoshi Pharmaceutical is going to be held responsible." The man stopped in his tracks. "And if that happens, you'll be ruined personally, too," Minorikawa added. "You know I'm right." "That will be up to the police to decide. You're going to regret this. Don't be a fool." Minorikawa's resolve was unwavering. His pen would met out justice. Or is it meet out? I don't know. He might have come close to forgetting what he once stood for. Now the old fire was back. "I see. It seems this isn't something to leave unchecked." The man gestured with his jaw. "Take him as well." More security guards surrounded Minorikawa. "Hey, stop it! Let me go!" Though he struggled fiercely, there was no escape. Once he was dragged through those laboratory doors, Minorikawa never wrote another article again. So that is definitely a bad end, I would say. Yeah. Detained at the lab. Kenji Osawa probably said something earlier. Minorikawa accompanied Osawa to the lab, but there was no getting past the security guards, and if even Osawa can't get into his own lab, there was no real reason to go there. It's Osawa who needs to decide on a different course of action here. Okay. Alright. So I'm trapped. But this isn't that bad, because I have a jumping point that I can't really do. The stumbling man. I guess I need to antagonize him. I guess I need to act like Minorikawa. Is it fun hitting people with that thing? The corner of the punk's mouth curled up. "Oh yeah, real fun. Only a dumbass beats people with bare hands. You just wind up hurting your fists. If you're gonna enjoy some violence, you gotta have yourself a weapon." "Uh-huh. I see. In that case, maybe give it a rest with that stick, yeah?" "Huh? What for?" Punk scowled in irritation. "Don't get me wrong," Minorikawa said. "I'm just saying there has to be better weapons than that. Something that could take a man down in a single blow." The kid stopped to consider Minorikawa's words for a moment. "I get ya. Yeah, you might be right about that. And I think I have just the thing. May as well go with my usual." Tossed away the piece of wood on the side of the road. "Don't you go anywhere till I get back. Got it?" "Yeah, sure thing." Minorikawa watched as the punk headed back the way he'd come. "Man," he murmured, "what a dumbass." Looking around, he spotted a taxi parked close by. "Same?" "Nope." "Need a ride, sir?" All the politeness opened the back door. "Oh, come on, this has to be the same." "Oh, fuck off." Smooth as always. Back streets. Where? Nothing gets past a reporter like you. Apparently a middle-aged man. Oh, come on. You look tired, sir. I was barely audible. Oh, suddenly someone rushed out into the street right from the cab. Look out! Ow! Fuck! A heavy thunk as the taxi crashed into the pedestrian. Screeching to a halt, Kimizuka and Minorikawa jumped out of the vehicle to find a young man splayed out on the street. Hey! The driver called. You alright? Fallen pedestrian was practically still a kid. Kimizuka hunkered down and jostled his shoulder. Then his expression stiffened in alarm. Norikawa checked the young man's pulse, but couldn't detect any heartbeat. Oh no, Kimizuka said. This is... Tears began to well up in his eyes. Norikawa turned to him in surprise. You knew him? I did. Kimizuka cradled the young man in his arms. I'm sorry, but you'll have to find yourself another taxi, he said. I'm going to turn myself into the police. Looking down at the boy's unmoving form, Minorikawa felt a pang of guilt. No, he said. I'm the one who's been asking you to drive around so recklessly all day. This is on me, too. But I'll go with you to the cops. Two men decided to head to the station together to surrender themselves. There probably wouldn't be time to work on writing articles while they were being interrogated. That was just how it'd have to be. This was the right thing to do. Norikawa just had to keep telling himself that, knowing that it was the truth. Already got 3 bad endings. Surrendered to the police. Minorikawa's day ended in disaster when the taxi he was riding in hit a young man, Achi, who ran out into the street. But why'd the kid rush out onto the intersection like that? The answer lies in Achi's story. I figured that much. Alrighty. Achi time. Internal dispute. Get back here! Threatening shout. Saw. Boy. Yeah, side street. They're doing a shake-up. Or shakedown. Shakedown, blah blah blah. Hey, let the kid go. Someone having and collecting debts. I don't gotta tell you nothing. Yeah. Sneer. Thought back to the other gang member too early. Just gleam in his eyes. Yep. Alright, here we go. That guy. Pretty sure he said his name was Kiryu. Never let a guy like that get all high and mighty. Now it seemed like these young fellows were ready to follow suit, eager to take him down a peg. You're old news, pal. Ain't your business to tell us how to do things. Achi felt a confusing flood of anger and sadness that he couldn't quite control. I'm not messing around here, you guys. He grabbed the nearest punk by the collar and hefted him up in the air. Then someone shouted from behind him. Hey, what are you doing? Achi put the guy down and turned around to see Susumu standing there. "Mind telling me what's just going on here, Achi?" Susumu flashed his underlings a sharp glare. They immediately took to their heels. This leads to his death, I'm sure of it. Achi wasn't just about to let them go. He raced after them. "Hey, get back here!" Gang members speed. They scattered in different directions to throw him off, but Achi wasn't going to let them get away that easily. He kept after the ringleaders as they headed toward the non-pedai area, darting down a narrow side street. You could see an intersection coming up. Achi sped after them, making sure not to take his eyes off them for a second. Uh-oh. With his attention fixed on the fleeing troublemakers, Achi never saw the car speeding directly at him. By the time he registered the impact against his side, he was sailing through the air. Crashed to the pavement, skewed to a stop, and laid there struggling to breathe. As he watched two men get out of the taxi that had hit him, Achi thought to himself, "I'm going to die here." He'd been too careless. It was too late to walk that back. He could hear the sound of his own heart, beating all too slowly. And then, he heard it stop. Oh god, that's fucking terrifying, actually. In his headlong pursuit for some SOS troublemakers, Achi ran right in front of a speeding taxi. Sure, as the gang's former leader, he can't just stand idly by and let them be a menace, but still, maybe it'd make more sense to talk to their current leader. Yeah, that's fucking terrifying. Fucking listening to your own heart beat slow. Fucked up. A whole new SOS. Just what the hell was going on with SOS? Achi needed to talk to Susumu. I asked what was going on here. There was a threatening tone in Susumu's voice. That's what I want to know. What the hell's happened to SOS, man? Susumu's voice twisted with displeasure. You're an outsider now. That's none of your business. I don't give a damn if it's my business or not. When I left you in charge of SOS, You shut your damn mouth! Susumu roared. Yeah, that's right. You left me in charge. So don't you dare give me any lip now about how I run things. Sudden ferocity left Achi lost for words. You're not the one busting his ass out here. I am! Susumu stalked toward Achi, face red with emotion. I've had to work so hard to keep things going with you gone. You have any idea what it's been like? Do you know what I've had to put myself through to keep SOS together? Nothing Achi could say to that. He just kept his mouth shut and let Susumu talk. God! I thought maybe I could do things like you did. All at once, Susumu seemed to deflate a little. He hung his head, hiding his face. And if I couldn't be like you, then... Hey man, I get it. I'm sorry. But Susumu kept his face averted. Please, he muttered. Stay out of our business. And he turned on his heel and headed off without looking back. Achi watched him leave, feeling a painful sting. Achi? Itomi asked after Susumu was gone. Are you sure you're okay with leaving things like this? Achi shrugged heavily. Susumu said he's doing what he can. It's not my place to butt in. He turned his back on Hitomi. He still needed a moment. Achi, you're being unreasonable. About what? Felt like he'd been wounded to his very core. Wasn't sure what to do about it. Want to help people who are in trouble, right? Hitomi asked quietly. Yeah, I guess. Achi's voice was glum. Well, I'm in a whole lot of trouble right now. Yeah, I know that. No, Achi, you don't. Hitomi's tone was clipped and firm. Please, go to your sister. What are you talking about? That doesn't matter right now. Yes, it does. Hitomi's shout stopped him in his tracks. Achi, right now the thing I'm having the most trouble with is that you won't go to the hospital. Don't you get it? How can I possibly be happy with you helping me if you have to sacrifice your own sister to do it? Achi couldn't answer that, and he knew it. Please, oh, please, go to the hospital. I'm asking you to, and I'm definitely someone in trouble, so it doesn't count as breaking your promise, right? I appreciate that, Achi said softly. I'll remember it when this is all done. Achi! Sorry. Made up my mind. We can go to Suzune after we've rescued your sister. Hitomi looked like she had more to say, but Achi grabbed her by the hand and dragged her off towards Endo Electronics. As they turned a corner, Achi caught sight. Is that supposed to be sight? Caught sight of a group of foreign men heading in the direction on the other side of the street. The men saw them, too. They immediately broke into a run towards them. Damn it, how are there... Oh, fuck, what? Damn it, how are there still more people chasing after us? Achi spun around and started to sprint in the other direction. Maybe these new guys were associated with the foreign thug who'd fought the man with the cane. Achi mulled that over as they ran, getting farther and farther from Tokenzaka. The crooks were clearly pretty familiar with the layout of Shibuya. They weren't easy to lose. Achi and Hitomi finally lost sight of them, somewhere around Nanpedai, finally stopping once they got to Sakuragaoka. You alright? Achi panted. Yes, I think so. Well, guess we wound up coming here anyway. Hitomi raised an eyebrow in confusion. Suzune's hospital. It's just over there. In that case, can you please just go and see her? She fixed him with a look of earnest plead, despite his misgivings. Achi nodded. Shibuya Central Hospital was one of the foremost general hospitals in Japan, outfitted with top-notch medical facilities staffed by highly skilled personnel. Individuals like Suzune with rare blood types were sent to the hospital from far and wide because of its cutting-edge hematology center. The hospital division that deals with blood. Its goal is to provide high-end care to patients with blood disorders, including blood screening, treatments, transfusions, the management and supply of blood products, and other related services. Achi asked Hitomi to stay in the waiting area while he headed on into the hospital proper. From the visitor's entrance, he passed by the nurse's station, then entered the cardiovascular medicine section and walked along a row of examination rooms. The cardiovascular system includes the heart as well as the various blood vessels that circulate blood throughout the body. Cardiovascular medicine deals with the heart and blood issues such as angina, heart attacks, heart failure, irregular pulse, and the like. I had a regular pulse. Look at me, I'm special. He walked by the first room as quietly as possible, catching sight of a mother and daughter sitting together in chairs in the hallway. The mother was crying softly. Oh, Takuya, it's only 15, she murmured under her breath. The name Takuya didn't ring a bell. It was the only 15 that got a reaction out of Achi. Only 15. Couldn't imagine anything good coming after that. To be cruelly taken away when one was still so young. Achi could feel the woman's pain as deeply as if it were his own. When he reached Suzune's room, Dr. Saeki and the attending physician explained her condition. The doctor did his best to keep his explanation simple, but Achi was too worked up to process much of what he said. He did manage to wrap his head around a few things. At around 10 o'clock this morning, Suzune had had a seizure. For a while it had been touch and go, but finally her condition had stabilized. However, since she hadn't regained consciousness yet, she wasn't allowed any visitors. That was the gist, as far as Achi could tell. "What's your father doing today?" "Still hasn't come by," Dr. Saeki said. Achi wasn't sure what to tell him. Certainly odd. There was no way his father wouldn't have rushed right to the hospital if he'd heard Suzune had taken a turn for the worse. "Give you a call once she's woken up. Now you can head on home for the day." "All right. Please keep a close eye on her, Doctor." Somberly, Achi went to find Hitomi in the waiting area. Outpatient reception had closed for the day, leaving the hospital quiet. His footsteps echoed softly in the corridors. Then, as he walked along, a peculiar sound drew his attention. It had come from over by the base of a nearby stairwell. Achi took a peek around the corner. At Stanley and Kano? The sight that greeted him nearly made him gasp aloud. In the dim light up ahead, he saw Kano. She had some white guy pressed against the wall, a knife to his throat. Achi quickly yanked his head back out of view. Could it be? Was this the man Kanan said she was after? Achi had to resist the urge to go charging out there. Some amateur heading in half-cocked might be more of a liability to Kanan than any sort of help. He heard her mutter something to the man in English. "We know nothing about Alfred's background, nationality, sex, age." Achi could just barely make out the words, but since it was all in English, he had no idea what they meant. "But we do know that whoever they are, they have connections to Langley." Slang for the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Similar to referring to the Japanese government as Nagatacho, the CIA has other nicknames including the Company, the Agency, the Second Government, the Invisible Government, and the Coup Makers. Achi peeked out again, very cautiously, in time to see the man raise an eyebrow at Kanan's words. "Interesting. That doesn't mean you need to be threatening me at knife point, though." He flashed her a thin smile. "It does, actually, because I happen to know you're a CIA agent." Technically known as officers, the CIA refers to its own spies as agents. Someone in charge of directing agents is called a case officer. Case officers are stationed at embassies across the world in the public guise of diplomats, soldiers, and the like. No sooner were Kanan's words out than the man grabbed her arm and tried to hurl her against the wall. Just before her head connected, though, she jackknifed her upper body forward, then planted both feet against the wall and kicked off with tremendous force. She used her momentum to launch herself forward, regaining her position with her knife against the man's throat. But during his brief opening, the man had managed to draw a gun from inside his jacket. Now the barrel was pressed right against Kanan's heart. Achi swallowed the lump in his throat. "How about we call a truce?" Kanan said softly. She withdrew her knife. "Yeah, sounds like you and me are both after the same thing." The man likewise lowered his gun. With a faint smile, Kanan turned her back on him and vanished down the adjacent stairwell. Achi had no idea what just happened. He'd stopped fighting, though, so this guy probably wasn't Kanan's mastermind after all. If only Achi spoke a little English, he might have been able to follow the conversation. He found himself wishing he'd taken school more seriously. When he looked around, he saw that the man, too, had disappeared. Hitomi stood up from the chair as Achi hurried into the waiting room. "How's Suzune?" she asked. "For now, she's not in any immediate danger," they said. good to hear. But more importantly, Kanon was here just now. What? Why? Not sure. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. Achi slumped his shoulders. Huh? What? Not quite sure what you mean. Exactly. I couldn't understand anything she was saying. Hell, he couldn't even figure out how to get through to Hitomi. May I have a moment? A voice spoke unexpectedly from behind Achi. Ah! Mr. Stanley! His breath caught in his throat as he turned around. Standing there was the man Kanon had been struggling with. What's up? Achi asked. He tried to sound as nonchalant as possible. The man wasn't looking at Achi. You're Hitomi Osawa, is that right? Yes. Hey, Achi snapped. Keep your distance. Stepped protectively. This guy, he's not what he looks like. Achi clenched his fists and adopted a defensive posture. Huh? Hitomi seemed panicked. Achi said, I don't know who he is, but he's not our friend. The guy calmly reached into his jacket pocket. Fearing he might be about to draw his gun, Achi braced for action. My name is Jack Stanley. I'm a security assistance officer for the U.S. Embassy. Achi held back his punch as the man held out his ID card. Diplomats are issued diplomatic passports and diplomatic ID cards by their home governments. Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also issues its own form of diplomatic identification card. The CIA provides such identification to its operatives working overseas to help maintain their false identities. Embassy? What does someone from the U.S. Embassy want with me? Hitomi asked timidly. You're being targeted by a dangerous criminal. I'm here to take you into protective custody. Custody? Achi's temper... Oh, custody? Achi's temper flared. Buzz off, pal. We're busy here. Busy searching for Maria Osawa? Stanley asked. Achi and Hitomi exchanged glances. I know the full details of the trouble you currently find yourselves in. Well, all right then, Achi said. Then you should know we don't have time to get taken into custody. I'm afraid you don't understand the situation we're dealing with. We're up against a dangerous international criminal here. Taking reckless action is only going to put her life in danger. Don't be a fool. This is no time to play the knight in shining armor. Hey! Achi was infuriated, but he couldn't think of a comeback. Oh, that was Stanley saying that. After all, it was true that Hitomi had run into danger time and time again while she was with him. But I'm already safe, Hitomi insisted. I'm only here right now because Achi has been protecting me. She eyed Stanley sharply. I've got Achi with me. I don't need your protection. Achi felt a surge of pride that practically brought tears to his eyes. If Hitomi had let him, he'd probably given her an enormous hug. Stanley grimaced in resignation. All right. In that case, how about I join your search for Maria? I can help keep you safe that way instead. I don't know. Hitomi grabbed hold of Achi's sleeve. The Stanley fellow didn't have the most trustworthy face, Achi thought. But he realized that he might be biased after being chased around by foreigners all day. After all, if this guy really were after Hitomi, he'd probably have already made a show of force. Not only did he have a gun on him, he was significantly skilled in martial arts to hold his own against Kanon. He'd have no trouble taking down a single unarmed opponent like Achi. Hitomi, I get the impression this Stanley guy's not our enemy right now. Hitomi gave a slight nod. All right. I trust your judgment on this, Achi. Now then, what's the plan from here? Stanley asked. Not wandering aimlessly around town, I hope. There was a trace of snideness in his voice. You can just keep your mouth shut, Achi replied. We can wander around town all day if we feel like it. You can play the snarky game, he thought to himself. Poor Hitomi looked distressed. Very well, if that's what you want, I can stay quiet. But first, I need to inform the police that I have Miss Osawa in my custody. Wait, hold on, Hitomi blurted. That isn't a good idea. Stanley inclined his head. Why's that? Well, since you already seem to know most of the story, Hitomi quickly explained the kidnapper's threat and described the search for the minivan. Stanley remained quiet, listening with obvious interest. See, he said when she finished. Still, when the minivan exploded, didn't that make your promise to the kidnappers a moot point? Tomi nodded. I suppose it did, didn't it? Let me ask one more question. Do either of you know a detective by the name of Tadeno? No, we haven't run into any detectives. Yeah, exactly. The only folk we seem to run into are guys who are after Hitomi. See, a grim expression crossed Stanley's face. Right. I'm gonna get in touch with the investigation task force. I'll have them contact your parents for you. Would you mind speaking with them so they can confirm it's really you? Sure. All right, Hitomi said. Stanley got on his wireless and described their current circumstances to the police. Mr. Endo, hold on! Suddenly, Dr. Saeki appeared, running down the hallway. There's something I forgot to tell you. Regarding your father. Oh? Achi got a sinking feeling. I got a call from him yesterday afternoon, and he asked me something rather odd. Uh-oh. Preparations for a transplant? I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure I understand what you're asking. Saeki clutched the receiver. Daisuke Endo's brooding tone was more than a little disturbing. No, it's all right, Endo said. It's all just difficult to talk about, Doctor. Please, forget I said anything. There's just one important thing I wanted to let you know. Yes? There's going to be a brain-dead woman coming your way at probably around 9 o'clock this evening, I expect. Her blood type is Bombay. Bombay was the extremely rare blood type that Endo's daughter Suzune possessed. Any transplant donor for Suzune would also need to have the Bombay blood type. Since she has the same blood type as Suzune, the transplant itself isn't an issue, Endo continued. The only thing I'm concerned about is whether the procedure can be done within the limited time window. And I hate to trouble you, but I just called because I think it would be the best to prepare for the surgery as soon as possible. The more Saeki heard, the more disturbed he grew. It felt like he was listening to a man go on about some strange delusion. Doctor, please, just take good care of Suzune. With that, Endo hung up. Achi kept quiet as he listened to Dr. Saeki tell the story. Of course, that was yesterday, and I still haven't heard anything about a brain-dead girl turning up. After all, God would know when someone would wind up in a state of brain death. Still, there was just something very strange about what your father said. It was as if he was certain that someone was going to wind up brain dead, or... Just stop right there, Achi exclaimed. Stanley and Hitomi turned in surprise. They were still in the middle of their wireless call to the police. Don't get me wrong, the doctor said hastily. I'm not trying to imply that your father would hurt anyone. What I'm worried about is your father's mental state in... No! Achi interrupted. That's not it! His own words spun within his head. So long as we have these cameras, this guy has nowhere to run. Security cameras. Sure, this is the place. Man with the cane. He'd been on the phone with someone. That didn't mean anything. It was just a coincidence. It couldn't be true. Achi searched desperately for some other explanation. That was it. Anyone from the downtown committee could use the camera monitoring room. Yeah, no one's been by to check today. Nothing wrong with a little nap, yeah? Nice. No one from downtown had been by the surveillance room today. Couldn't be. Couldn't. Achi began to tremble. Something the matter? Hitomi asked. Achi, you're pale as a ghost. Achi glanced beseechingly back into her face. Achi, you're as pale as a ghost. With just one simple question, he could clear this whole thing up. Please tell me I'm overthinking this. Prayed inwardly before asking. Tell me. Would you mind telling me your type? Why do you ask? Please, just tell me. I have a sort of weird blood type, Tommy said. It's called Bombay. Last piece of the puzzle fell into place. There was no longer any room for doubt. Achi found himself facing a sad and painful truth. Why? Why? He screamed, pushed the wall as hard as he could. But his fist still didn't hurt as much as his heart. Dad. Why? Is this a to be continued? Ah, fuck. Ah, shit. Oh, no. This is the worst possible outcome at the moment. Oh, Minorikawa is stuck there now. He still has a bad ending, which means Osawa. Means I need to go to Osawa. Alrighty. Well, I guess I'll stop here for now, since I have exceeded an hour. And we got to one of the to be continued, and I feel like we're going to be close to Minorikawa's and probably even Osawa's, possibly. So yeah, thank you all for watching, especially if you got this far. Stick around, because there's a lot more to come.